Rubble and Rocky.
Those are like the firefighter dog, I think, is Rubble. And
But
there's
there's
a
also
bulldog.
Garbage Dog.
Garbage Dog? Is that
Garbage.
his name?
There's a Garbage Dog.
Is
There's
there
a
a
dog
garbage
I think
dog
that's
in Paw
Ryder.
Patrol?
Yes, I just saw the trailer 2 days ago.
But here's the thing,
could
everybody.
that be new?
No, there's
I
always
don't
been
know.
a garbage dog, and the joke is that he's stupid and everybody shits on him all the time.
There's
and people are
also-
saying, "What is this classist? This classist weirdness
There's also
going on."
Girl Dog.
There's Girl Dog.
I
Well,
love
the
Girl
new dog for the film, I think her name is Liberty. I think she's a new one.
But that's not Girl Dog.
That's not
Is
Girl
she-
Dog.
Does she patrol? she
They
do
are
the
the
patrol?
patrol. They're the
Patrol.
paw, and she's the patrol. I said
Her name is Patrol.
I said patrol, but
okay.
that's fine.
No,
Patrol.
Liberty is not Kim Kardashian. It's a girl.
No, Kim Kardashian is a poodle. And
Kim-
apparently
okay,
she gives
wait.
like the worst, most deadpan performance.
So Kim Kardashian is in the Paw Patrol movie, is what you're
Is
saying?
in the Paw Patrol movie, in the
Yes.
film, in the franchise.
What's up,
She's a
chat?
part
By
of
the way,
cinematic universe.
you guys are popping
Hi,
off
chat.
with emotes, and I'm happy to see it. What are your thoughts
We're
on Kim
talking about
Kardashian
Paw
being in the
Patrol.
Paw Patrol movie?
In the Paw Patrol. I think it's what she deserves.
But I just I
Is Kim
have
Kardashian
a
the
lot
one
of
that's trying to be
questions.
a lawyer, or is that a different one?
I have not heard about this.
Cool. One of them's trying to be a lawyer.
What do you mean by
What-
one of
it's
them,
Paw
Adeline?
Patrol?
One
Wait.
of the Kardashians.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were saying one of the Paw Patrol dogs was trying to be a lawyer.
Is there
They're
a
also
lawyer? We got
puppies.
the policeman, the firefighter, and then the lawyer. Yeah.
I've learned a lot about Paw Patrol in the past one trailer I've seen for the Paw Patrol
Yes.
movie.
Same.
Because
same
they're
boat, same
puppies.
hat.
And so you're telling me one of the Paw Patrol puppies went to university, got a degree, and decided
Yes.
they needed to go to law school
Yes, and take the bar exam. Yeah.
and take
so
the bar.
You've seen the trailer. I have seen maybe about 3 trailers because I watched Cartoon Network this morning because my grandparents have cable and that's all I could watch. So I was just watching Cartoon Network. And so I saw maybe about 4 Paw Patrol trailers, and in every single one of them, they were all different, but they all had the same exact things in them. And here's what was in all of them: a girl dog fires off a drone from her backpack.
Oh, that sounds sick as
Puts
hell.
a little hook. Puts the hook up the butt crack of a man wearing purple pants,
Okay.
and it rips his pants off. And everyone's like, it's either funny or they're like, gross. That's what the variation is between the trailers. And then what's also in every single one of them is, so there's a family in a car, and the car is underwater, submerged, drove off a bridge or something. You
Like
know
in
your nightmare
Mythbusters.
scenario?
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
in
yes,
a freaking Silent Hill Shattered Memories, like that.
Okay,
Imagine
sure,
that.
yeah.
So then the Paw Patrols are trying to get them out of the car, and this whole time the little girl is taking a selfie, and the mom turns around and said, "This is no time for selfies."
Oh, that's a
And
good
that's
joke.
in every single one.
That's
of
really
them.
funny to me because
What?
when you the thing about young people is that they love taking selfies.
Yeah,
So
and if I know anything about
True.
8-year-olds, is that they're always taking selfies.
yeah, so if they
On the
were in a
creature.
crisis situation, it would not be unusual for them to take a selfie during it, but that's
And
inappropriate.
it would be
so
inappropriate, and that's how the mom would react. So that's
Yeah,
funny. Yeah,
it's good.
That's
It's
what
a
I would
good
call
joke.
A funny joke.
you guys,
It's just,
I already showed the 2 of you, but do you in the audience at home want to see the T-shirt I bought today? Check it out.
He
do.
really likes it.
Hold on.
I bet you $1 million that if I were to go into Owen's room right now and pull out a T-shirt, it might be that exact T-shirt.
It could be. I hope so.
Want to do?
It's nothing.
Most people think
Oh,
that
I'm
video
wearing a
marketing is an
University of
expense versus an
Alberta.
investment. And this is how you have to look at it. If you want to return.
T-shirt. It's nice.
You guys just got a
And
few
then-
seconds
Alright,
of.
bit of the day.
You guys just got a few
I got
seconds
a
of
heart.
YouTube ad, and I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna do the fit check.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Is everybody's fit? What's the girls outside of the sororities, and they're like, "This is Amazon. This is Tony Chappelle. This is David Letterman," and they go through all the whoever the designers for all their clothes are.
If David Letterman had a fashion line, I would be there. I would
Subscribe.
What would
be
it
first in
Be
line.
bankrupt.
It would
it just
probably
be,
just be like some
pocket
shirts.
squares?
I think it would be like some shirts and some pants and maybe a hat or something.
Maybe a hat. if
I'd be
you
like,
feel
this is the David
feeling
Letterman
fancy.
collection, though.
A beret.
Did David
Who are you
Letterman wear a
wearing?
beret?
David Letterman.
I don't know. I just feel like there need to be. I feel like it's time for a beret to make a comeback. You know, in America.
Yeah.
In America.
I don't know
All the
where
girls are wearing them
berets
for
are.
fall.
I've got a political party that I think you would really like, Kezia. It's called the Black Panther Party. Just I don't know, just
They're
aesthetically.
They're not wearing berets anymore. It's been decades.
Oh, they don't do berets anymore?
They've
I
hung
don't
up
know.
the
Do
beret.
they still?
They
I feel like
should.
it was the 70s.
All of the Black Panther goings on I've heard about have been actors paid to pretend to be the Black Panthers, so I don't know.
Right.
I don't
What's
know.
real Black Panthers and what's
were
not?
the paid actors wearing berets? We
Oh,
don't know.
This one guy is wearing a beret, but I feel like it also might be for the photo
The fake, yeah. Who knows?
because it's like 50 years.
But you know what?
You can
isn't
get one for
fake?
$13 on Amazon.
Ooh, Jeff Bezos wants your money. You know what isn't fake? Harley Quinn and all of her good friends.
Oh, okay.
And
so-
the
Is that our-
adventure that
is
they
that
go
our-
on.
So here's the thing. I've received
That's
some
definitely
feedback.
real.
I've received some feedback lately that
Uh-huh.
a lot of new viewers to this show are put off by our very long tangents about unrelated things, and they get very frustrated that we don't circle back around to the movie more quickly than we do. So, like, you know, I'm not gonna be a dickhead about it, but like maybe we could just keep that in mind.
That's fair.
Maybe
Jackson, that is your fault.
It's not 100% my
and
fault.
You know it.
it's not
Listen,
100% my
I'm
fault.
just saying, hopefully they never meet us in real life.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell,
That would be
yee.
I'm not gonna take that personally, but anyway, Harley Quinn.
But
and her-
yes,
and her
speaking
Suicide
of,
Squad.
hello, my name is Jackson, the Turbo Kid McMurray.
My name is Adeline Cannonball, but not the one that you're thinking of, McMurray.
And my name is Kezia. Flula was in this movie, Rose.
And this is No Nerds Allowed. We don't really have a premise. We just hang out. We talk about a movie, and the movie this week is Suicide. Excuse me.
The
Not
Suicide
Suicide.
Squad.
The Suicide Squad. Justin Timberlake came in and he said,
How many times can we say suicide before Twitch is like, actually, you have to stop.
I don't know.
Red flag.
Justin Timberlake came in and he was like,
Hashtag.
add the, it's less clean.
The
Like from the social network.
the
Anyway,
Justin Timberlake.
the Justin
That's a
Timberlake.
great social network.
Thank you.
Get it?
I've
Or
got a
is
lot
it
of social
reference?
network jokes that I just sit on most of the time.
And he's
but
got
still
them only for
relevant.
himself.
I'm
and
letting them
nobody else.
free. So the Suicide Squad.
It's had a
It's-
rough history.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been thinking about this movie a lot. I watched it 3 times in the last 3 weeks just because I
Well,
like it a lot.
Spoiler alert,
Man.
it's really good.
Yeah, because I watched it like opening day when it
Good
came
time.
out. And then I watched it again last week when I thought we were doing a podcast on it. Then it turns out we didn't. And then I watched it again today before we did the podcast this time. And like, you know, if I didn't like the movie that much, I probably would have just seen it the one time and been like, I remember it well enough.
All the good.
But this
I'll
time I
remember
was
what
like,
happens.
I don't care. Like, I might as well. Like, it's a grand old time. And it's like, sincerely, it's the only time I can think of where like a movie studio made a movie and they did like a super bad job.
and
and
we
then-
didn't like it.
And then like 4 years later, they were just like, what if we just tried to make that movie again and did a better job?
What if we just
instead?
did it one more time? And this time we like just did good this time.
Yeah.
We gave a shit about this one. Would it be better? And it was better, as it turns out.
And like the production process of the Suicide Squad is like, because after Suicide Squad came out, they were like, we're gonna make another one, obviously, because it did pretty well. So they were like,
Gonna make a
David Ayer,
sequel. Mhm.
David Ayer, come make your Suicide Squad movie. And he was like, hell yeah. And they were going to get, like, I got to look up the Wikipedia. I should have had it up already. But there are a lot of wild things on the Wikipedia page about what they were trying to do for Suicide Squad 2.
Which,
Sorry,
honestly,
one moment.
yeah, the first Suicide Squad, I feel like, Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad.
A
Which again,
Suicide Squad.
Out of all of my biggest critique is the name of a movie, because that's stupid.
Infuriating.
Yeah.
But, but the original one with like Cara Delevingne and Will Smith, it definitely I think the biggest pitfall there, because I wasn't there for this episode, is that
Mm-hmm.
like it was very much at the tail end of we're trying not to make weird things, so we're gonna do green evil woman villain.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because we can't do anything weird. That's too weird. People aren't gonna like it.
Yeah, I feel like the first, just to immediately compare it to this one, I feel like the first one, the pitfalls for it was that like it was made like Suicide Squad. Like the point of a Suicide Squad movie is like everybody's gonna die, so we get to invite a bunch of weird characters, and they're just gonna die, and you're like, great. But the original Suicide tries to like have its cake and eat it too, where they're like everybody dies, but also nobody dies because the important people can't die, and the people that you don't care about are gonna die immediately. So they just like introduce like 3 people and then kill them immediately, and then the people that we follow are all people that we like know, and then none of them are ever in danger ever, you know? And I feel like this Suicide Squad does such a good job of like giving you both, but like not really telling you what's gonna happen still. Like, because I mean, obviously spoiler alerts for the new movie, go watch it, it's very good, it's on HBO Max. But like, you have that first squad and they all just get fucking decimated in that one scene, and they're all just fucking dead. But then we move on to the new crew of the people we are going to be following, and those people still are in danger. There are still stakes for those people. You still don't know if those people are just gonna drop dead at any second. And of course, they stick around for much longer, of course, because we're developing them, and a lot of them survive. But like, people still just fucking die and just like get destroyed, and like there's tension of like, oh, something could happen to these people, and it's like really good.
So okay, here's what I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
David Ayer is like Suicide Squad 2, got it. And then he decided he'd rather not because everyone hated Suicide Squad so much.
Yes.
It was
yes,
like
they did.
the total Josh Trank thing where he was like, okay, I'm gonna not do that again. Gonna do something else instead.
Can I go home?
Pretty much, yeah.
Everybody hates me. Can I leave?
They considered a bunch of people like Ruben Fleischer, Daniel Espinosa, David S. Goyer, like the classic like schlocky blockbuster kind of guys. But they really wanted Mel Gibson to direct Suicide Squad 2. According to Wikipedia, they've got a source. I'm not going to look into it right now, but they wanted Mel Gibson.
Warner Brothers?
But so they like go through a bunch of things. There was a moment where they thought Suicide Squad 2 was going to be about Harley Quinn, Jared Leto's Joker, Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, and Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. Like, just the 4 of them were going to be the team, and they were going to get up to some hijinks. I don't know. And they're like, they go through like a few different directors who are like signed on until James Gunn gets fired from Guardians of the Galaxy by Disney, and DC is just like, Jimmy,
Immediately.
come here, Jimmy. No, here, come over here. And he was like, apparently they offered him Superman first, and he was like, I don't think I want to do Superman. Cool. And they were like, how about you do whatever you want? And he was like, well, what about
please, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Please.
And he was like, so what about Suicide Squad? So they just like fully and completely like just trashed everything they had. They were like, you go for it. Yeah. Like, you go for it, Jimmy. Like, we are.
They didn't wrestle with Jimmy.
Rolling out.
Just do it.
Old Suicide Squad, you know, in 8th grade when she goes to the pool party, old Suicide Squad is in a one-piece bathing suit, walked out the door, and everyone was wearing 2 pieces. And you're like, oh, God. What my movie is not what the people are wanting anymore, and I need to go home now.
Yeah,
and then she went home and she changed into James Gunn, and now people are like, OMG, it's just like Guardians of the Galaxy, but I get to Harley Quinn.
Right. And like
that's what I said.
My biggest
That's what I did say.
My biggest worry about this movie before I saw it was that like, cause like this is James Gunn's first movie since all that shit went down. Like, I don't know, I'm sure everybody... like, I'm sure everybody knows, but just to be brief about it, like, James Gunn got, like, a whole bunch of his old tweets from 10 years ago, like, brought up by some, like, conservative political commentator. And, like, as a direct result of James Gunn tweeting a lot of anti-Trump things, and I don't remember who it was, but, like, some conservative politician was, like, gunning after him because he was one of the, like, Hollywood's run by pedophiles guys.
One of those.
Yeah. And, like, so Disney was just like, oh, yeah, we do see those tweets, so see you later, James Gunn, you're fired. Yeah. And everyone lost their shit, and everyone wanted James Gunn so bad that instant. Like, it was this weird thing where it was, like, so immediately clear that, like, this wasn't, like, you know, Hollywood canceling James Gunn. It was, like, just Disney. And, like, everybody else was like, no, no, no. Like, we'll take him.
James Gunn,
like,
please.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's one of the situations that it was like, of course the tweets are bad, but they're just, like, bad jokes, edgy jokes that nobody would make nowadays. Well, and, like, the fact that it's stuff from 10 years ago, it's stuff he's apologized about before in the past, before they got dredged up.
Right.
And the fact that it was somebody specifically bringing them up just to be like, I gotcha, idiot.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And the fact that, like, Disney just falls for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And they've since then, like, come around again. And it's just, like, one of those examples that people are like, cancel culture, look at James Gunn, he got destroyed. And it's like, no, we all, like, kind of thought and, like, sat and, like, thought about that. And we're like, no, that's stupid. We're all fine with James Gunn, you know?
Well, it's just the fact that, like, speaking as someone who was 14 10 years ago when when people were bringing it up, like, that, every single human being who is over the age of 12 is cancelable.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Like, I would say there are some cancelable 12-year-olds.
In 2010, guess what? You probably said something horrible. You're lucky if you weren't allowed to have a social media account. Go look through everybody's old Facebook. I've had to delete some horrible things. They're not like slurs or anything, but I'm like, this is bad. Nope, this is not how I think.
I don't think this anymore. Get it out of there.
I've learned because, surprise, coming out of the Bush era, people didn't have the greatest takes on like progressive thought processes.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Bush.
But what I was getting around to was, like, my biggest, and, like, the thing that James Gunn has going for him more than a lot of people is that he seems like, I don't know how to best express this, but he cares so deeply about his friends, and, like, he seems like a person that people just naturally, like, respond to, because, like, not only, like, the overlapping casts in so many of his projects, but also, like, the fact that he, like, when he got, like, fired, it was, like, instantly, like, the entire cast of Guardians of the Galaxy were, like, writing letters, and, like, Dave Bautista threatened to, like, quit the film industry, and, like, everybody, it was, like, instantaneous. But anyway.
Dave Bautista's like, I'm gonna go into the woods, and you're never gonna see me again.
Right. But, like,
he
didn't do it. But, like, I was so worried that he was gonna come into Suicide Squad, and you were gonna watch the movie, and you were gonna be like, oh my god, like, he has such a chip on his shoulder. Like, I was terrified.
Story.
Yeah, I was terrified that Suicide Squad was gonna come out, and it was gonna be all about, like, like fucking Joker. Like, it was gonna be like, people are so sensitive now, like, why can't, you can't say anything anymore. It's like the Suicide Squad. I was very worried that was what was gonna happen. But thankfully, just reinforces James Gunn's a smart guy. Who knows what he's doing.
Like, his actual character is that this movie is, like, fun and lighthearted and has heart and
it's so
like,
lighthearted,
visually interesting.
I mean, I do think that like, as we are, like, kind of, like, figuring out what we're gonna do with superheroes post Endgame, like, even I feel like that's even affected DC, just because there's so many superhero movies. Like, what is a superhero movie now? And I feel like we're getting dangerously close to being like, we have your regular superhero movie, you have your kind of, like, funny superhero movie, like a la, like, Thor, Ragnarok, and, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you have your gross out ones, which is Suicide Squad and Deadpool and all those. And, like, those are our 3 superhero movies, and that's what we have. We have the ones that are for adults and for thinking 13-year-olds, and then we have our regular ones, And I do think that this movie does kind of stay out of that trap of being like, oh, here's the gritty 13-year-old, blood superhero movie, because it has so much heart and so much lightheartedness in it. Like, it's just like funny and silly sometimes. It's really good, and it doesn't just like fall into one trope. And what's great is that it's not Guardians of the Galaxy again, because that was a fear that I had, that it was just going to be Guardians of the Galaxy again, a second time, one more time. Playing all the hits.
Yeah. And because that's one of the things that's fascinating is, like, you've got Idris Elba in this movie playing a character who is basically indistinguishable from Will Smith's character in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Like,
British, though.
But British instead. And like,
it's Idris Elba, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Knuckles.
So we can talk about that later. We're going to push that down the line.
I forgot.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, clearly when he was writing this script, he was like expecting for Will Smith to come back, and it didn't work out. But it's like fine. Like, it doesn't bother you at all, because first of all, Idris Elba is like giving maybe his best performance in the last 10 years in this movie, which is not saying a lot because
except for cats.
Honestly, maybe true, but like, Idris Elba is in this like Anthony Hopkins zone where he's just like infinitely admired and respected, but he
can do no wrong, and so he continues to do wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. It seems like the only thing Idris Elba has been in the last 10 years are like horrible, awful blockbusters in which he seems very bored. And like almost nothing else. You know, he had Beasts of No Nation, which he was great in. He had Molly's Game, which he was great in. And then like before that is just like Luther and like and like him on The Office, you know? Like he has a small body of like really good performances under his belt, I feel like. It's weird. It's weird how much we all love Idris Elba.
Well, and this performance is so good, because you're absolutely right. It is just Will Smith's character again.
Yeah.
And like he doesn't feel like he falls into any racial stereotypes. He doesn't feel like he's falling into any things that Will Smith like set up. And I think it's all in that one scene between him and his daughter that like totally differentiates those characters like immediately. Yeah. After that, you're like, oh, that's not Will Smith. We're doing something completely different.
Right.
Because that scene where he meets his daughter in jail, and you're kind of like, okay, I know this story. He loves her, and so they're gonna use him as a bargaining chip. But it's so much more like complicated than that, where he like has these complicated like struggles with his daughter, and he's kind of mad at her, and does like, obviously they have a rocky relationship and there's a strain on their relationship, and they just like yell at each other in the prison, like they're mad at each other, they're having a fight. But then for him also to immediately turn around and be like, you can't just fucking threaten my daughter, like even like no matter whatever's going on, you can't be trying to threaten to kill my daughter. Like, so it's just immediately a totally different character, and it's such a good performance.
I was thinking a lot. I want to go back to the opening sequence because we kind of, skipped over it. I mean, you talked about it for a second, but then we went somewhere else. But anyway, Flula, of course. But like, I think it works really, really well, obviously. Because like, first things first, all the advertising was very indiscriminate about which characters it like showed a lot of, which I thought was really smart. Totally. So like, going into it, I mean, if you watch like all the trailers, you could like get a pretty good idea. You're like, okay,
probably figure it out.
Yeah, like
probably Idris Elba.
Right, yeah. But you're like, there's a lot of
John Cena.
Yeah, there's a lot of John Cena in this one.
John Cena was dead for sure. Like when they just like write out the cast, I was like, oh, John Cena's gonna die immediately. But then he like is in the film and gives a really good performance.
Right.
Host Ferdinand, Cena's in it for the long haul.
But John Cena is extremely game.
Can't see me.
Like, John Cena is the kind of guy I think would show up in 5 minutes in the Suicide Squad. Like, he seems up for that to me.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, like, I think we've talked on the podcast before about Deadpool 2 and how much they do, like, almost the same bit in Deadpool 2. And it feels extremely bad. Like, in Deadpool 2...
I like that bit.
You do?
With Terry Crews?
Right, yeah. Like, okay. Because I was trying to, like, figure out why it works here and why it doesn't work in Deadpool 2. And I think, like... the thing about Deadpool 2 is that it feels like the movie is like, oh, hey, check out all these toys. Don't you want these toys for you to play with? And you're like, hell yeah, I would love that. Bill Skarsgård, Terry Crews, playing beloved characters I know, hell yeah. And then they don't get to do anything. Like, there's absolutely no actual content of those actors as those characters, you know? Like, they show up, and then they immediately die with, like, few to no lines. And it's like the movie's, like, actively antagonizing you as a viewer. It's like, aha, like, we gave you all these toys, and you're like, oh, sick. And they just came and, like, kicked them all over. Like, ruined your sandcastle. And you're like, what the fuck? It's like a beach bully. But, like...
Well, and they're like, wasn't that funny? Wasn't that ironic and funny? Like, kind of a twisted humor? And you're like, no, I just wanted to have fun.
No, but that's, like, what Deadpool is. Like, it takes...
Twisted, kind of skewed humor.
Well, it is tongue-in-cheek versions of a superhero movie. And, like, that kind of, like... We're building a team, and it's all of these famous people. Look at our Avengers team. All of these stars are in our movie. And then it's like, ha ha ha, just kidding. No, it's still a Deadpool movie.
Right.
Like, of course that wasn't real. Why would you think it's real? And that's the point.
Right. But I think in the Suicide Squad,
Yes.
it is so much more... Like, all the characters that they kill off in that opening scene feel like you get to experience them and enjoy them for a little while before they get killed, you know?
There's like them chatting and in the
airplane,
and, like, even on the ground.
Exactly. And like during the fight, they're like doing stuff and you're like, oh, this is an actual performance from Pete Davidson. He's like, you know, doing something funny and he like has a character that I'm kind of interested in. And when he kills him, it doesn't feel like they're kicking over my sandcastle. It feels like built into the whole thing. Like, that, you know, he is a character, he exists, and the movie treats him like a character right up until the point that he dies. Yeah.
Well, because I think that's all important because this movie plays around, and I'm a little bit fuzzy on the original Suicide Squad, just because it's been a grip since I've seen it.
We've seen that movie like 4 times at least, Adeline.
But it's been a while since I've seen it. Why are you trying to tell me what I do and don't know?
I'm just saying.
Anyway, I don't remember all the details. It's been a second since I've watched the movie. Jesus. Anyway. But I was saying, I don't remember if they have, like, a commentary. They, like, have a little bit, like, obviously she's, like, the lady who plays, like, the government lady who's in charge of the Suicide Squad.
Viola Davis.
Oscar winner Viola Davis.
Whatever.
Amanda
What
Waller.
her character name is.
Amanda
What's
Waller!
wrong with y'all? Anyway. Her, like, she's obviously this very, like, scary woman, like, this person who's, like, willing to do anything for good and is doing all these weird, unethical things. And I feel like we kind of touch on that in the original Suicide Squad. But this one, because we're really, like, kind of, like, putting a spotlight and, like, even on the agency itself of, like, oh, this is really messed up. This is screwed up, all the things that she's doing. And even if these are bad people, the fact that she's just murdering... Because it's also, like, a thing that, like, oh, we've had several Suicide Squads since the OG Suicide Squad. Like, this is just a thing we do now. That, like, a lot of those missions probably ended exactly like that first one did, where everyone's just dead or got killed or their head got exploded. So, like, we're really touching on, like, how unethical and how terrible and how kind of evil that woman is. So I feel like we have to, like, see that and experience that with characters that we actually care about. And seeing them just get kind of thrown aside like garbage to, like, actually, like, feel that and be able to talk about it later in the film, you know?
I feel like metatextually, like, I felt myself thinking I was like, Michael Rooker, sure, yeah. So excited for him to be in this whole movie.
Right.
Like, he was, like, a good, like, grounding, and then also, like, obviously Harley Quinn, and then Captain Boomerang. Those 3, I was like... Okay, I know that these 3 matter, and then everyone else, like, there's no way, how are they gonna build a story on Pete Davidson character? How are they gonna build on Flula Javelin? Like, how are they gonna build on this weird weasel? Like, this is gonna be a weird movie, but I trust the director, and we'll see how it goes. And so then, like, when we got to the point where dead, Michael Rooker also dead, upsetting for me. I was like, oh, they're not. It makes sense in, like,
they're not safe.
in our space now. Like, this isn't the team. but they made me think it was.
Right.
Like I was along for the ride.
And I think it's smart that they put Harley Quinn and Rick Flag on that original team. Like even though the rest of them die,
also,
it's like a good way of like
Ricky
crossing
Flag.
the wires and like throwing you off the scent. But like I think Pete Davidson is so funny in this movie. Like it is the absolute perfect casting for the like just dickhead idiot who like shows up on the beach and is just like immediately like, oh hey, what's up guys, I got him for you, and then just gets shot in the face like immediately. It's perfect. And then after that happens, you cut back to him being a dickhole to Idris Elba.
Yeah.
It's just like there's something about it that is so sincerely great. And
it's so perfect. Yeah.
Just like, and then you get to like have that like reverse Schadenfreude like catharsis of being like, he's gonna get his face blown off in a second. Like,
the way that this movie handles like those little time jumps is done so well. Like I feel like I am never confused or lost when they do those. Like, I mean, like the one of the like ones that I was kind of worried about like being confusing is the one where the like team is like split up in the tower and they're all kind of doing things, and we like follow Peacemaker, Taskmaster, whatever. I don't care. I'm quitting the internet. Peacemaker and the General Army guy, like we follow them and what they're doing, and with Rat Tamer, like we're following them and they're doing their thing and they fight. And then you have Harley Quinn and Idris Elba and everybody else and Polka Dot Man doing the bombs. And I was worried that we were going to lose track of people, especially because at that point we have quite a handful of people that I care about and I know really well and I can tell them apart. But when they're all spread out, I was worried I would get a little lost. But like, we're just following one and then we cut to before following the other one and then they meet up. And it's like, oh, perfect. That was super smart and I know what everybody's doing. And it doesn't feel like and it's not like, oh, we did all of that in 5 minutes. Like, it feels like it took time, but because we went back, it just feels good. It all comes together perfectly.
And I love, at the end of that sequence at the beginning, Michael Rooker just screaming and running away and getting his head blown up by Amanda Waller.
I know. Just trying to swim away.
There's something about it.
Paddling.
It's like such, I don't know, I don't know how to.
Scary.
It is. It's kind of scary. It's weird. Like it's a great like subversion of your expectations in a way that like
we establish him as like this tough dude.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
But it feels earned.
That tennis
you
ball
know,
kill the bird thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, ooh, tough prison man. What's his story?
Who's he?
And then you see Amanda Waller blow his whole head off his body.
Blow his whole.
And then you're like, oh yeah, they'll do it for real.
yeah.
She's not joking.
Get her done.
Even if it's James Gunn's best friend, Michael Rooker, they're not safe.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I do think there are like a few moments, because usually I'm like okay with like bloody gory stuff as long as it's like, I mean, of course I'm like, if I get over it, I'm fine. There are a few things that I don't like. I don't like mouth stuff, and I don't like inside the body stuff. So the two things that I really didn't like was, well, when Shark Man just rips the guy's head off. That was
King Shark.
And just has it. And just has it. Didn't like that one. And I didn't like when John Cena got shot in the neck, and there's just like blood. That was gross.
Oh, that's weird.
But also
Will you
when he
tell
like
me,
takes
Adeline, what is not inside the body stuff?
like organs and stuff. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, but that's all of that stuff. Organs, blood, bone.
No, I mean like specifically like like when they do the autopsy and Blade, and they're just like, look at all the alien bits. I'm like, I'm out of here. Goodbye.
Yeah, rules.
And like when the X-ray shot that they do when John Cena stabs him in the chest, and they're like, here's what the heart and the lungs look like as they're gushing blood out of them. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want that.
For me, it's head things.
Head things.
Don't like Pete Davidson. No face.
Right.
Couldn't watch Hereditary. The Mike Rook. I had a little bit of a problem there. I was like, I hope the rest of the movie's not like this. But King
I
Shark,
hope this movie's over.
King Shark, adequately named. He can do no wrong in my eyes.
King shit.
All I ever needed in this world was my favorite human being in the entire history of all time, which is Rocky Balboa playing King Shark. I don't mean Sylvester Stallone. I mean Rocky Balboa.
I have some hard news for you, Kezia. So Rocky is a fictional film.
No. Rocky Balboa is the real Sylvester Stallone.
Okay. I love.
And he is playing King Shark in this movie.
Jackson.
It's all that scene when he's running on the ice rink for me. That's the little ooh, friends. It's the same.
And I think that like King Shark, like playing like the big dumb galoot, like is really tricky, and I think that this movie pulls it off in a really good way.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, you cut to somebody and they're reading a book, but it's upside down to illustrate that they're stupid is like a very much like a non-joke. But like the way that, because first of all, it's like, okay, so what does that mean? Like in any sort of like real context, it's like they're reading it upside down. What is that? Like, that's not anything. But in this, like the way they play that joke is like, he's pretending to read and he doesn't know it's upside down. He's doing this like weird performance of reading where he's like, I love this book. That's what's funny. And
I am smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think that this movie plays like I don't know how else to say it besides the big dumb galoot. Like, I think they like pull it off. And this movie's so funny. Like,
it's so funny.
I don't know how else. Like, I think the most important thing to a movie like this is that it is just like sincerely hilarious. There's this moment right at the beginning where Harley Quinn like comes in for the first time and they're like, "Oh, what are you back in for, Harley?" And she's like, "I got road rage in a bank." And I thought that was hilarious. That's a great joke.
Like, move on, yeah. Well, Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. That's who it is, right? I'm terrible with actor names. Yeah, she's so good at Harley Quinn over and over and over again. She's just so good as Harley Quinn. Because I adore that scene where she, first of all, I adore Harley Quinn in this movie. I love it so fucking much. She's just in a ball gown the whole movie. Yeah. Like, hell yeah. And like, she's like this unreliable narrator because she like gets kidnapped and like goes on a date with the guy and they're like gonna get married and like, did that really happen? And you're like, yeah, it probably happened. But then as she's like escaping and like shooting through all the guys and like there's like flowers everywhere and this awesome fight scene, and you're like starting to think like maybe not all of that happens, maybe. Just, I love that so much. And she finally gets out there and she's got her pigtails and like this dress that's all ripped up and her like combat boots, which is just so good. And she sees everybody trying to rescue her and she's like, "Are you guys trying to rescue me?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, we were." And she's like, "I can go back in and we can still do it." Like, I just love it so much. It's so good.
She's buddies. She's friends. She went through a bad breakup.
And that was
gal pals. For work friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we probably should talk about Birds of Prey at least a little bit when we do this. But, like, one of the things that, like, bothered me the most about Birds of Prey was that, like, it was, like, this really, like, explicitly feminist story, right? Mm-hmm. It was, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not just saying it was bad that it was a feminist story. Okay, it was, like...
If they can cancel James Gunn, they can cancel you, too.
It's true. Yeah, but it's, like, it's this really explicit feminist story. It's, like, you know, using Harley Quinn as this, like, avatar for, like, the experience of being a woman in a city, you know? And, like... It's so empathetic and so, like, on Harley Quinn's side, this whole movie. And, like... I'm not the story's good, but I couldn't help but, like, every once in a while be like, we are still talking about serial murderer Harley Quinn, right? Like,
she's a bad guy.
Yeah, like, I get what you're saying, and, like, as a piece of narrative messaging, like, I buy this, and this is good, but, like, let's not forget, though, she is, like, a murder clown.
Birds of Prey, Eileen Wuornos. Serial murderer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we have only seen Harley Quinn in the original Suicide Squad and then Birds of Prey and then this Suicide Squad. So maybe she really hasn't done anything that bad. We don't know.
But I mean, that's what I love about that whole sequence in this movie is because it's really great at writing that line, you know? it feels like it has like sort of a like, you know, not like a really specific individual take like Birds of Prey does, but it has like a generally feminist idea at the center of it, and it's like talking about Harley Quinn as like an emotional person in a really sincere way without glossing over the fact that she's gonna fucking kill a guy. Like,
yeah, no, I love the like nuance of that scene, because you have like obviously writing Harley Quinn as a survivor of abuse, which she is.
Yeah.
And so, and it's kind of funny because that whole scene, because like she basically figures out that this is the bad guy, and she's like, whatever, you're hot, I get to be a princess all the time, screw it, whatever. But then once he starts to talking about like murdering kids and like all these other like controlling red flags, she's like, no, I'm just gonna murder you. And like, I love that line that she's talking to him as he's dying, and she's just like, I ever told myself if I ever saw those red flags again, I was just gonna kill him. And I'm like, yes,
I would do the right thing and I would murder him. It's so funny. It's great.
And like all of the characters do have like this level of like, you see that crime or like wrongdoings more often than not come from a place of trauma. Surprise. Wow. Had no clue. But my favorite iteration is Mommy Problems Polka Dot Man.
Right.
He's so good.
I think the best thing that the DC cinematic universe can do is to just lean into that Animaniacs BS and get that Wacko Warner crazy stuff going.
Get Wacko in here. He deserves
Where
his
is
spot.
he? If this were Space Jam, he'd be there. Anyway, he was in Space Jam.
He was. He didn't do anything.
He was there, at least.
He sat there with his... He sat there. I was like, man, I sure hope all these humans get trapped here forever. Thanks, Yakko.
King Shark, that's a wacky thing. Starro, we'll get there, because I have a lot to say about Starro.
Starro the Conqueror.
But that's... What a stupid, like, centralized antagonist. And it's awesome. But, like, Polka Dot Man being like, yeah, my mom, she was a scientist at Star Labs, and she just really wanted us all to be superheroes, and now I got a complex, and I literally see my mom everywhere, and then you cut to him.
His vision.
Literally just everyone is his mom. It's so stupid, and it's so funny.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, that's like a legitimate gripe. Like, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
She turned you into a weapon, but also, LOL, this Karen.
Yeah.
Literally every character.
Yeah.
Well, and it's what we're talking about of like there is definitely, I mean, we're obviously that we are having a conversation about the prison system, obviously, and like what crime and like what it means to be a good person, obviously, and like being a good person and the extent of the law, blah blah blah. We're having that conversation, and I think to have all of our main cast who are all people who are bad or have done bad things, mainly because of trauma. I mean, not King Shark, obviously. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
We don't
but
really know.
We don't really know about him. He's got some daddy issues.
Which backstory are you going with?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like all these people obviously who are like in crime because of trauma, like Harley Quinn, Idris Elba, Ratcatcher, like Polka Dot Man, like obviously that's why they did these things, and we kind of know why they did those things. Versus Peacemaker, who is this entitled white guy who just murders people because he thinks that's what's right. And it's just, it's such a good parallel. And then to have those and to literally have them fight at the end, it's just, it's so good. And the payoff of the smaller bullet, it's such a good payoff. Like, I was worried it was going to come back in a stupid way, but I liked that.
Yeah. And just a heads up, I mean, we've been spoiling the movie already, but not like big time, like just like little bits and pieces. But like, we aren't going to talk about the whole movie. We're going to talk about like spoilers and like who dies and whatever. It's just a heads up if anybody's new. But if you're new, you should also follow, because we're trying to get affiliate. We're not there yet. Just gonna put that out there super quick. But like, I really think every death in this movie really works, except for Polka Dot Man. Like, I really sincerely don't think they should have killed Polka Dot Man.
Yeah,
like,
me too. Same
killing
boat.
Rick Flag was great because, like, I mean, I don't know. It's like what we talked about when we were talking about Kylo Ren for hours when we did our multiple Rise of Skywalker episodes. It's like, it's hard to quantify exactly why it makes it that way. But sometimes when a character you really like dies, it's effective and sad and it works in a satisfying way, even though obviously you're upset. And sometimes you're just like, well, what the fuck? That was just mean. Like, why did he have to die?
It was just
Like,
mean.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to phrase it. It was just mean.
And like, you know, Rick Flag.
I feel like we
I
would say
Rick
we
Flag
should have
felt
known
sad. I was like, oh, I'm sad to see Rick Flag die because, like, first of all, it's wild that Rick Flag is so likable in this movie, considering he was, like, so horribly unlikable in the original one. And they, like, bring him back and they, like, mold him into, like, this new character that's, like, way better. But, like, when he dies, you're like, oh, that's so sad. Like, what a horrible loss for this team. Like, I liked him so much, and it's so sad that he had to go. And then when Polka Dot Man dies, I was just like, hey, what the fuck? Like, bring him back.
I feel like I knew, though. I feel like I knew that Polka Dot Man was not long for this world. When it happened, I was like, hey, no.
But that was the
like,
one death.
Point,
Stop.
When like the building started to crumble, I was like, listen, at this point, I know Harley Quinn's not gonna die.
Right.
But like, don't take King Shark away from me.
Yeah.
And don't take Polka Dot Man away.
Those
are my babies.
boys.
Yeah, I would have rather
cinnamon
King Shark
apples.
died. I would have rather King Shark died than Polka Dot Man.
No!
I would
Don't
trade
ever
him.
say that to me
I would
ever
trade him
again.
in a heartbeat.
Don't ever say that to me ever
Well,
again.
and it's just
But,
because
like,
Polka Dot's
wait. But the
You're
thing about it though is that King Shark is legitimately like a villain to other DC characters that are already a mainstay, and Polka Dot Man is like stupid, weird, Silver Age, Bronze, like transitional. The same with like arm detach. I beat people with my detached arms, man. Like I was like, oh wow, what a weird pull that I'm thankful for because I like the weird things. But ain't no way we're gonna get a solo Polka Dot Man.
He's never coming back.
Right, yeah.
That's not Black Widowing itself into fruition.
I mean, I don't know.
So
I don't think I wanted like Polka Dot Man to come back. Just like killing him felt mean.
I want him to die.
Like let him
Don't
be
want him
happy.
to die.
I don't know.
He's an expendable.
Well,
Not
it's
like
because
King
his
Shark
death-
though, who was played by an expendable.
Oh, good one.
High five to myself.
Polka Dot Man's death was the only one that felt like a joke, and I think that's why it's so much like, hey, I liked him. Like, how dare you make fun of him? Like, that's my boy, you know? Because, like, everybody else dies. And a detachable limb man is a little bit of a joke, but not him getting shot. Like, that's not the funny part of it. That's the part where you're like,
The funny part is when they shoot his arms and he's like, oh.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion
funny,
doing
but then when
great
they shoot
shoulder
him and
acting.
you're like, oh, this is serious. Everybody's dying. You know, like, his joke is the only one that's, like, a throwaway. Like, he says a one-liner and then he gets stepped on. Like, like, it's just...
It's not a
and then I
one-liner,
liked him,
though.
and you did him so dirty.
Did him so dirty.
You
He's
did
like,
my boy dirty.
I am a real superhero, Mom. And then surprise, oh, you forgot how big of a risk going up against
being
Starro
a
the
superhero
Conqueror is. He's a big boy.
He is a
big,
large lad.
And he's gonna step on you, and he's got that weird mouth thing with all his limbs mouth, and little him come out. It's gross.
And when you go in his eye, you go in his big
It's
old...
gross.
I love that.
His big old
It's
waterbed eye.
swimming
It's
pool.
full of liquid, and it's just full of rats, and they just start going to town.
Yeah. Like, I am
Fucking
not...
the end of Ratatouille up in there. Rat restaurant.
Right. I am not at all afraid of rats, but, like, the imagery of just, like, a swarm of rats swimming into a giant eyeball to devour it from the inside, that skeeves me out so bad. That's so gross.
But it's
Yeah.
also
Like-
kind of beautiful.
Oh, gross.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's lovely for some reason.
Like, it's kind of magical and also kind of the worst.
Yeah.
Just the worst.
But, like, that moment where it's, like, a practical effect of Margot Robbie, like, coming out, and it's, like, this big, weird, pillowy, like, waterbed thing. It's so brutal.
Rose. And she's just, like, covered in
also-
slime.
Yeah.
And she's like...
Talk about tragic trauma when spoiler alert, Starro dies.
Oh, no.
Where one of the voices is like, I would have been happy just floating along the cosmos. And you're like,
Staring at the stars.
the thinker sucks.
Ah, the
And you're like,
thinker.
I I hate
We
the
should have
space
just
program.
we should have just left nature alone. Should have
Also,
just
the
let him
Thinker,
float.
fun villain. Wish he didn't die. Love that guy.
Right, yeah.
But also,
it's
my
been-
biggest fear, people talking in unison, happens in this movie. So it made
A
it extra
lot,
spooky.
several times.
It's been
I
a
do
big
like-
couple of months for Conquerors. Like, between Loki and
yeah.
Suicide Squad, like, we got a lot of Conqueror rep happening.
And
I
also,
do-
I couldn't think of another one.
Okay.
And
I thought of Conjure. I only thought of Chen the Conqueror from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, right.
Which came out in 2006.
So recently, yeah. No, but like going off of like, because Jackson, you've had military propaganda on the mind because you
Right.
made that video that's on the channel about whether or not Marvel movies are propaganda. You should
Right.
check it out. It's very interesting and it's something we'll talk
Wink
about a lot
for
with
audio listeners.
superhero movies, obviously.
Yeah.
But like this movie, it toes a weird line because again we're like in a Middle Eastern country and we're with the American government. So it's like what
It's South American.
is it
it's
South
fake.
American?
Yeah.
Where are we?
No place in a DC movie is real.
Thank you. But yeah, like we're in a foreign country dealing with a foreign
Maltese.
government and it is the US military. So it's like it can get really dicey really quick and especially when we're dealing with like a kaiju-esque monster that's just supposed to be there to blow shit up. Like it could like I mean how the villain of the story handles it, I feel it's like how a lot of blockbusters would handle it, you know,
Right,
of just
right.
like, oh, it destroys it, like, cause you superhero fans, you DC fans, you love it when the bad guy just fucking destroys a city and then leaves. Y'all love that, so we're just gonna do that again. But I love how, like, it addresses this chaos in the government, and this chaos of good and bad, and we have, like, the people who are fighting the government, and, like, even when we're talking with the evil guy before Harley Quinn shoots him, when he's talking about, like, yeah, the people who were in charge, they did terrible things. They sent people to go get devoured by that monster all the time, and it was terrible, and they ruled with an iron fist. And, like, did we hang them and their entire family in the streets? And am I going to go kill a bunch of more children? Yes, but it's, like, it's this kind of weird gray morality and this chaos. Then you have the freedom fighters that are like trying to go in and like all this stuff. Like it's just chaos and you're just trying to find the morality in it.
If you like the ending of this movie, I would probably say you'd like Watchmen. Because similar with the, is it better for the truth to be out even if it would cause more chaos? But maybe if some people die, in both book and cinematic form. I won't say how though. I won't spoil it.
Did you know that apparently when Alan Moore was writing Watchmen, originally it was just supposed to be like a regular DC Comics story, and Peacemaker was the character that was going to be comedian. Like comedian was Peacemaker, but then he decided to make his own thing, so he turned it into something else.
He's like,
just interesting.
I'll just put in my own D-bag guy.
I'll make my own.
But yeah, no, because I think Suicide Squad, the original Suicide Squad, like its take is like, oh, isn't it crazy? Like the government's sending these criminals in and they shouldn't do that, but it's giving them this opportunity to be heroes because the government's sending them in to
save the world.
To save the world. You know, like the government is doing, you know, using sketchy methods to do something that's ultimately good for everybody, you know? Whereas this is more like the main characters are like victims twice over. Not over in the sense, not only in the sense that like they are like, you know, pawns of this prison system, but also like they are being forced against their will to like just enact the will of the US government, you know? And like it puts them in this situation where they're just being told to do something evil or die, you know? And it's about them navigating that. And at the end of the day, I mean, they think they're doing the right thing for a lot of it, or at least like some kind of like thing they don't mind doing, until they realize that they're not. And it's about them like having to stand up and like, you know, I mean, the whole point of this movie is just like the tension between like upholding the status quo and shaking things up in order to, you know, make life better for people. Like, you know, the status quo, it's I'm trying to think of how to best express it. I don't know. I am just so much more on board with the messaging politically of this movie than I ever was with the original one. And, like, it's a really smart way to think of it. And it, like, looks at, like, American imperialism in a very, like, reasonable way, I think, in a way that, like, movies rarely do. I think it's, like, the kind of weird move that, like, movie studios would usually not let people do, which is just cool and interesting.
Well,
but,
because
like,
the first one feels just so, like, government bad, but good guy good. And
Right.
you're like, ah.
And also creepy witch from the history.
Yeah, it's also
Oh,
not
ugh.
like an evil government. It's literally like an embodiment of evil that they're fighting.
Yeah.
So there's like there's no workaround there.
No,
It's just the evil zombie lady.
And I love that this movie has like 2 corrupt government systems because Corto Maltese is corrupt, and we see that with like the Civil War freedom fighters and their team who gets chopped into hamburger by accident, which is also funny.
Funny.
That's good.
which is hilarious.
Especially with like John Cena and Idris Elba just being like, "Fuck you." Yeah, like, yes, yeah. Dick.
It's
Like
so
the whole
great.
time they're doing it, and they're like,
So good.
"You have a small penis." But then you're like, "Oh yeah, these guys, no, like of course America is gonna be like, get in there and get the freedom, give them the freedom," and then you're like, "Oh, just kidding. They were actually there so that the American government won't look bad because they've been performing weird experiments and like emboldening these people."
Yeah, it's weird. Like, why have I been thinking about that lately? Is there something going on that would like make me think about it that way?
I have no idea. I don't want to talk about it.
But like, it's like this movie. It reminds me a lot of Archer.
I'm gonna cry now.
It reminds me a lot of.
It's fine.
It reminds me a lot of Archer. Like, really sincerely. Like, not only like the style of jokes, but also just like tonally and like situationally about these people who are like engaged in these like really deeply serious like international conflicts, while also like that run that John Cena has about like, if this entire beach was filled with dicks, I would eat every single one if it meant that, like, whatever. It's like so Archer to me, and it's so funny. But like
Archer also very good.
Archer also rules. And like John Cena, I am happy that John Cena is in this movie doing what he's doing. Because like
I am as well.
Sometimes I worry that John Cena is going to take a hard right turn and just like turn into Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which I don't want to happen because he's not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Like, and because like John Cena is so great in comedies. Like, he is so sincerely funny in so many like raunchy R-rated comedies. And like then every once in a while when he's like the military guy in Bumblebee or like Vin Diesel's brother in F9, you're like, I don't think this is the best move for you, John.
Yeah.
Johnny, Jimmy.
My
like,
boy Johnny.
Because I don't think, like, I think his charisma comes from the fact that he is just kind of weird. He's kind of weird to look at.
Yeah.
He's got an awkward attitude in a way that, like, doesn't work.
I mean, like, his WWE outfit was literally a t-shirt and cargo shorts.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he would come out in WWE, and like a baseball hat. Like, what's up with that?
Because you couldn't see it anyway. So why bother?
Yeah. And John Cena has his dick out in so many movies at this point. Because Tour de Pharmacy, Blockers, and, I mean, he doesn't have his dick out in this movie, but you get a pretty good look at the shape of it.
You get the outline.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
It's not like, oh, it's tighty whities. It's like, that's John Cena's dick. Like, you don't see it, but, like, it's there. Like, it's that's John Cena's dick. Yeah. But, like, he's just so great in, like, raunchy comedies. Like, he's so funny in all of those. Because he's great
you love Cockblockers. You thought that movie was really good.
Yeah, it is. That movie's great. And, like, I don't think John Cena's, like, the best part of that movie. But, like, he's just...
He didn't hurt it.
He's just funny in those roles. And, like, Tour de Pharmacy... You've seen Tour de Pharmacy, right, Kezia?
No. We've talked about it a lot, though.
God, it's so funny. It's like a 45-minute short film on HBO Max. And it's like
Well, I'll watch
maybe
it after this.
the funniest comedy anybody's ever made. I think it's hysterical. But like, Jumbo's saying in the chat that apparently John Cena's gimmick for a while was that he was a rapper in WWE. I have not heard about this. Hold on.
I mean, I know that The Rock sang a lot in WWE.
Did he? I need to know more about WWE.
Well, he's a singer.
Well, that was the whole thing about Moana, was that Lin-Manuel Miranda would, like, listen to him in WWE, and then he wrote, like, You're Welcome in a way that he knew that The Rock could sing it.
Right.
Like,
Well,
so that
listen,
was the thing.
real Dwayne Johnson fans know that he sang in the game plan years and years before Moana.
Right.
So he was already singing for Disney. You ever want to hear the whole plot synopsis of the game plan? I'm your man.
Okay.
I know it.
If
for
I
no
ever
reason.
want that, I'll hit you up, Keisha.
You're not gonna want
Expect my
to.
call.
It's not a very good movie.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy for John Cena in this movie, and I'm happy that he's doing the HBO show of Peacemaker too, because I just want to keep him in that world. Because I'm afraid if he stays out of that world for too long, he's just gonna get sucked up into Fast and Furious or something and just turn into like a buff, handsome guy, which I don't think he should be. I think he should be weird and funny.
Not to say that he's like not attractive, but that's just not what
Wacko.
That's not the character
He belongs
he plays.
in Wacko's world.
Wacko's
Yakko
world.
and Wacko.
Wacko's Wish.
But
That's a good movie too.
Like John Cena needs to be like the star of like a half-hour sitcom. Like if we got John Cena like a multicam sitcom,
The Office 2.
I think he would thrive. I think he would become America's sweetheart overnight.
Again.
Like a Nathan for you.
Like a Nathan for you, precisely.
But scripted.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my notes. Rick Flag, extremely likable, which is great.
Extremely good.
Joel Kinnaman getting his due. I think that like so okay. There's this theme running through the whole movie that's about like little animals. It's about like rats and mice and birds and like, you know, sweet little animals. To them. And like I'm not 100% sure what the thematic thing is with that. Like
I think it is what her dad says, that like they are the most hated animals.
Her dad?
But is it
the actor?
Taika Waititi?
I wanted Adeline to say it.
Oh. Why?
John Cena. Anyway.
I think it's crazy that Taika Waititi.
Yeah, no, it's just Taika Waititi. He's just there doing it, and we're like, hey, and he goes. But yeah, no, I think that's what the kind of theming of those little animals, that like all life has meaning and has a purpose. Right. Especially when we're talking about like these, all of the movies about people that they don't care about, like all the people in the prison system that we don't care about, all these people in a foreign country that the U.S. doesn't care about. Like that's what all the theming is. I am losing my lighting and it's getting really bad in here.
That's okay.
But
it's dramatic.
Yeah, this is my big powerful speech moment. But like, and like with the little birds that were getting crushing and the rats, and I do even think the little jellyfish are.
That's
kind
where
of
I got stuck, was with the jellyfish, because I don't get why that would fit in if it's all of a sudden like, and then these jellyfish like fuck him up, they like bite him and kill him. You're like, oh
yeah,
wait.
but it's like, also just that's funny.
It's also that's funny. No, I thought it was sad. They were his friends, and then they bit him.
No, they weren't his real friends.
But
he learns who his real friends are, ones that you don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the jellyfish, what I got was kind of like going in that theme of like you can't blame them for attacking you. You know, like I don't know. That's like kind of what I got from it. Like. These downtrodden things that we don't care about. Like, why are these jellyfish even here? We don't know. Like, and then they, like, when maybe people the jellyfish get fed up with their treatment and they attack, it's like, well, can you really blame them for attacking? You know, it's kind of what I was getting.
Do the jellyfish represent another thing? Because they are not perceived as the rats are initially in a disgusting, lower life form way. They are, in fact, introduced to us as adorable, beneficial to society, a friend. But in truth, they are actually blood-sucking danger to our good friend King Shark.
Right.
Just like America.
So maybe it's a parallel, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, little birdies are also very cute. Like, people don't hate little birdies. But I mean, I don't know.
Birdies represent freedom.
Maybe I'm just getting too granular about it.
I think, yeah, maybe you are. Just listen
Michael
to Taika Waititi and move on.
Yeah.
Michael, people like birds, even though they are rats with wings. And so the bird at the beginning, it symbolizes...
Keisha, people only like birds if they're pretty. They don't like pigeons. They don't like seagulls.
This is true. So the murder of this bird, you're saying, oh, he is upset with the prison, the criminal justice system being locked up, resentful of a bird that could just fly away whenever it wishes.
And he takes it out on the bird.
And so then these caged birds later on in the movie, they are just as beautiful.
Right.
But they have no access to freedom. Even though it may seem they do, if they can fly around, they're still trapped in this cage. Just like Harley Quinn and the rest of the Suicide Squad.
Right.
And they're set ablaze.
You're losing me a little here, Keisha.
I'm nailing it.
Okay.
Hello? Welcome
Write
to
this
TED Talk.
down.
This is my thesis. I just got a master's degree in Suicide Squad.
In Suicide Squad Bird Edition.
Suicide Squad studies.
Give me another animal. I'll tell you what it represents.
I guess that's just as much as you could say. Like, the Suicide Squad are like the rats. Like, cool. Also, other little animals. Whatever.
But not the jellyfish.
Not the jellyfish. I buy the jellyfish thing. I like the jellyfish take. I'm still weirded out by the birdies. Because everybody loves little birdies. Anyway.
You know who doesn't love little birdies? The girl from Hereditary.
It's true. She didn't really.
Think about it.
But
Demon.
It's okay. My favorite part of this movie is the nightclub sequence, which just feels so good. Like, them just being in that nightclub and seeing them, it's one of those things where it's like we haven't done a lot of work to actually endear these characters to each other, but they do so much in so little time to build these characters out and show them having a sincere set of relationships with each other in very quick succession in a way that absolutely should feel cheap but totally works, you know?
Like bus scene to the bar to afterwards, yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then so much so that
Shark sitting by himself in the van.
Yeah, so that's sad. And but it's so much so that it's I think before the nightclub sequence, so afterwards when you've got John Cena and Idris Elba and Rick Flag in the bus and they do that thing where they're coordinated and they work together really well to take down that van, you wouldn't buy that if that happened before the nightclub scene, you know? Them working together like that wouldn't happen. But that nightclub scene does so much emotional work on behalf of those characters that all of a sudden you buy them having this sort of synergy with each other. I think it's really great the way that they pull it off.
And then it's a huge twist when you're like, oh no, John Cena, Peacemaker.
Yeah.
No.
We couldn't fix him.
Yeah.
Couldn't fix him.
The way that it's set up at the beginning is so smart too, because when Idris Elba is like, oh, I thought you said that we've got all different things that we bring to the team, but we're the exact same. You're like, yeah, what up with that? Why would you? What's the difference here?
Right.
What's the difference here? And then you forget because you're watching the movie. You're like, I guess we'll get over it. And then you're like, oh, it's that he sucks. And Idris Elba is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Oh, I get it now.
And, we can't get out of here without talking about, the title cards and just, how, expressive and stylized, everything in this movie is in a way that these big blockbusters almost never are.
I love it when they're ready for mission whatever and it's on fire and then it blows out and then the smoke is Harley. I love that. It's just great. Little stuff like that. It's
they're let's go. Wait, no, we're not ready yet.
Tastes great.
And
chef kiss.
It tastes great.
Right.
It tastes magnificent.
And the camera.
How does the movie taste?
It tastes good. The camera is so expressive in this movie because there's a lot of like the camera like whipping around or like zooming in on people or like doing really like, you know, big obvious things that kind of draw attention to itself, you know, in a way that like movies like this never ever ever do. And like, you know, outside of like Mad Max Fury Road, and like I don't think this movie is Mad Max Fury Road, but I think it's in the same weight class almost in terms of like modern blockbusters that are like sincerely unique and stylized and great and just like totally blow expectations out of the water, you know? And I think that like, although I would say it's probably like bottom tier that, it's still that though.
It's still that.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
But like
it's not a Citizen Kane.
Right. Okay, so but it's like Mad Max Fury Road.
Lame.
It's like Mission Impossible Fallout. It's like Blade Runner 2049 and then like The Last Jedi and then like Suicide Squad. But it's still up there. There's a pantheon and it's up there. And then The Suicide Squad. Anyway. But yeah, it's just like expressive and it's not afraid to be like big and cheesy sometimes. Like, you know, everything these big blockbuster movies have to be so like inoffensive. They have to be so like cool all the time that like everything has to be very, you know, not serious is not the right word, but like very straightforward and very to the point, you know? Whereas like something like this, it could be like whoo, whoo, and like doing all these weird camera moves that are like goofy and fun and like, and it's weird to describe them as goofy because they don't feel like goofy in context, but you guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it totally works.
There is so much of this movie that feels like it could have been really cheesy.
Right.
And I could have been like,
like the needle drops
so
could have
lame.
been atrocious.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they were in the first one.
Like the concept of like, oh, a team that all comes together. They learn to like each other. Like, that can suck. You're like,
right,
yeah, I know. Yeah, caring about someone else. Groundbreaking. Incredible. But this movie,
what were we just talking about?
All of it feels earned, you know? Like, they have natural relationships that form and, like, naturally drift apart from each other.
Right.
And it makes sense. They all have varying degrees of, like, there's no, like, Coulson moment where they're like, oh, look at his bloody Captain America card. You guys suck, and he's dead because of you.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat. We were just talking about Mortal Kombat, about how that sucks in that movie. How it's like, oh, there's forming a relationship, slowly becoming friends, and you're like, barf, stop.
One person dies, and look, it's all your fault. My brother's dead because of you and his cool hat.
Sacrifice, and now you all care now.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Yeah.
Man, I wish Mortal Kombat was good.
I wish Mortal Kombat was good.
Too.
I mean, talking about like the needle drops, because James Gunn is good at those, as he has proven time and time again. He knows how to do those and make them feel right and feel relevant. Because the first movie was like, oh, people like needle drops? Let's do 12% of random songs that have nothing to do with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And also just like 1 or 2 verses in like the middle, and then we'll move on. Like, I cannot get over the Seven Nation Army needle drop at the beginning of the Suicide Scoop movie. It's so like, what was that? It was nothing.
Yeah.
Not Hook.
We could put it in the trailer. Movie. That's why they did it.
Because the original Suicide Squad, the needle drops were fucking atrocious. They were infuriating.
So bad.
And like, I feel like I kind of like, I don't hate Suicide Squad as much as most people do, because I think it has like some ideas in it.
In that podcast, we talk a lot about what we liked about it versus more than what we didn't like. Because what we didn't like is what everybody didn't like. It's bad.
But like, seriously, like so much of that movie feels like the editor was like literally just like clicking and dragging songs from their iTunes library. Yeah. Like onto the timeline and just being like,
cool song.
There you
cool,
go.
Edgy.
I like that. I like that in high school.
Okay, you know what? You know what the original Suicide Squad does have up on this one though? Is not the soundtrack, but the album that came out with it. With fucking 21 Pilots and All My Friends Are Heathens. Ain't got that.
That song was pretty fun. Right. Especially at Halloween.
It was like, inescapable that year.
It was inescapable. 21 Pilots sure just got put straight in the toilet recently, didn't they? Like, they're not around anymore.
I don't know. People were so mean. I hate when people are so mean about people's music like that. Like, yeah, that 21 Pilots song wasn't great, but like, it can't be great every time. Sometimes you can put out a song that sounds like a Macy's commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop listening to the radio.
Listen,
you
sometimes you just have to be Imagine Dragons.
Songs.
Yeah. Everybody can put out a
music.
song. Everybody can put out a song that plays at Kohl's every once in a while. You're allowed.
You've earned it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's not their fault that you work at the mall and the mall people
and you
only
have to hear it every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've
But,
got
like,
one
James
radio
Gunn-
station that you can't control.
But James Gunn, like, playing into the strengths that you have as a director and as my dog's mad at me. I have to open the door for him really quick.
Okay.
But I'll be right back.
Okay.
I have something to say. Talk about something else.
Got it. I will talk
Okay,
about something
cool.
unrelated.
Good
for you.
I do want to kind of wrap up quickly, but
Okay. I've been listening to the radio some on the bus. I've just been listening to like the pop radio station, and they play "Good for You" a lot. And I don't. "Good for You" is like gonna turn me into a men's rights activist because like.
no, it's good. I like it.
No, I like the song too. I'm just happy for that guy. It sounds like he's making good decisions and working on himself. And like,
yeah, no, that's the point. Is that she's just like, did I mean nothing for you? Because you're doing awesome now. That's the point of the song. Like, yeah, he is doing better. Good for him. Good for you.
No, it's
I'm fucking
sarcastic.
destroyed, though. That's
Nobody
the point
should
of the
ever be
song.
guilted for doing well, being emotionally healthy. That's bullshit.
Especially if you're like a 20-year-old who just got out. You're like,
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't
They're
date.
18.
Like,
Let her be upset that she's more affected by the breakup
here,
than he was.
I
That's valid.
I hold two things in my hands. One, you should chill out because you're a teenager. Two, just let her write her songs, and they're good.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Well,
right.
because
You know,
I've
both-
lived that.
And then
I've
a
been
third
there.
hand, leave this small young boy alone.
Yeah,
We don't know
Cyberbullying
him.
him
He's nameless. He's
breaking
faceless.
up with someone.
it says in the song like
He's equally well, maybe not anymore.
he
but
says like, "Oh, you
he
look
was.
really happy, and you seem like your therapist is doing really well for you." It's like, yeah, sounds great, dude. Like, you go. You dropped this
The point
king.
of the song is that she feels bad
No.
about herself, that she is more affected by the breakup than he was, and it hurts her feelings. Is that a positive thing to feel? No, but is it how she feels? Yes, I've been there in that situation, that relationship, where you break
the
up and they're
rest
like,
of the
okay,
album is
bye,
not
whatever,
like
and
that.
they're totally fine, and then you are more emotionally hurt by it,
Yeah.
and it kind of it's a new hurt of like the hurt on top of the breakup,
That
and it seems like it
blonde
didn't
girl.
matter to them. Like that hurts, and that's a
blonde
valid
girl,
song
though.
point.
What, blind girl?
What?
Have you listened to the rest of the album?
No.
Sour.
Kezia, who do you think I am?
Well, let me tell you that I went on a very long road trip with my sister this year, so I've listened to the whole album multiple times.
Okay.
So she just does a lot of singing about like, I hate Sabrina Carpenter
Okay.
because screw you for stealing my boyfriend. That's what driver's license is about. Think about it.
Got it.
Mhm.
And it's just like, girl, it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
You're gonna be
Maybe
alright.
you like pulled
Well, but
the trigger on
we
writing a song about
policed
this.
young girls' relationships with boys so much, especially when they're famous. We police every song they write about a guy, every emotion they have about a guy. We tore Taylor Swift to shreds for years
Right.
for
No.
breaking up with
It's-
guys.
It's valid, and it's valid until this 20-year-old boy,
Who's
it's
also
not a secret
famous
who
and
it
making
is.
lots of money.
It's super not a secret, but people are like sending him hate and being like, "You suck! I can't believe you did that. You're a terrible person." Blah blah blah.
Well,
blah,
but
blah,
that's
blah.
not her fault. That is not Olivia Rodrigo's
It's
fault.
not. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
there are two hands. Write your songs. You are valid in your feelings and how this went. Maybe don't send this guy hate because he's also valid in breaking up with her. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
all of these things are true.
Uh,
Anyway, this is what I had to say about the Suicide Squad
Got it.
and James Gunn's ability.
It's really
to
good.
write music
Harley
into scripts.
Quinn, so good in this movie. I feel like we really, the way that Harley Quinn has evolved in film is so interesting to watch. To like see how like, to start in a film where you characterize a character so poorly and have an actor just doing such a good job to like pull them from the depths to get a good characterization
Right,
of the
right.
character, and then to kind of move on and kind of mellow it out a little bit and kind of like tone it a little bit more to like that's who the character is. Like it's such a weird journey to watch with Harley Quinn as a character,
Mhm.
but I love her so much in this
It's
movie.
that pool party scene from 8th grade.
Right.
Is Suicide Squad into the Suicide Squad.
I've said
I'm
it-
telling you right now.
I was saying this to Anna the other day. I sincerely think that Margot Robbie is almost like too pretty for her own good. Because like
It's true.
all the things that she's great in, she's playing like a really particular type, like Harley Quinn and like Tanya Harding, where it's like this like scrappy, like, you know, I don't like to use the phrase white trash, but it's like the only like applicable descriptor.
Yeah,
like white trash, like poor white person, like goofy, uneducated thing. And like she's funny and she can like sell that really well and she's great at that thing. But she's just so gorgeous that she keeps getting roles that are like, oh, Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because she's beautiful. And you're like, but she's not that great in this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's walking around looking pretty.
Wants to do. She needs to be like funny and have personality. Yeah.
Right.
And I think that just comes
so
back
funny
to like,
because in About Time, she plays a girl who's just pretty, and then the like mom of the main character, she's like, you know, it's not good for a girl to be too pretty. Stops her from developing a personality and a sense of humor. And you're like, don't say that about her. Don't say that about Margot.
And I do think part of it comes to like how we write women characters, especially in certain types of movie, where it's like if you want to be in that type of movie and you want to be and you're beautiful, then you just have to be the pretty girl who says nothing. And sometimes it's a part of the plot, and sometimes it's not, and you're just a pretty girl who's there, you know. Right. So I think it's more about creating space for these characters. My family is all eating dinner without me. I would love to end the podcast.
I don't care. Okay, I have one last final thing I want to say. Which is that I think I am like so loving this movie up until the last like 20 minutes where they're doing the big fight with Starro.
No.
That loses me a little. That feels a little boring.
Disagree.
Oh, there's a big CGI guy. They're shooting guns at him or whatever.
It's a kaiju,
he doesn't look like anything else we've seen, though. He doesn't look like the other CGI monsters we've seen. He looks like a big, funny guy. So you're like, what the hell's up with that big, funny guy? And then he just fucking destroys people. And you're like, oh, holy shit. Like, it's great.
Yeah,
I just thought it was scary, funny, silly, and gross.
Yeah.
I
liked when they went in the eyeball. I loved when they went in the eyeball.
Star face off, and they're like, those are dead corpses underneath the stars, buddies. And you're like, ooh, that's gross, and that's scary, and that's, tension. Whoa.
And they're like, they experimented on children, and you're like, oh, just imagine, it's scary.
Yeah, psychological horror.
So you guys riff for a minute, because I forgot to get a review.
Well, I will. I like the Suicide Squad. I thought it was good. That's my final take. I thought it was fun. Also, my last thing is that I think that this movie cemented in my brain that we need to stop having superhero as a genre, because it is not a genre, just as Western was not a genre back in the day. It's a type of movie,
with superheroes.
but there are superhero comedies, there are superhero dramas. So like chill out about your Man of Steels, because you're gonna get a fun Superman movie maybe someday soon, probably not, but one day. Like, they're different, they're separate, and they are all valid. And I'm looking mostly at you, Silver Surfer.
Just that's who you're looking at?
I'm just saying, maybe we need to reevaluate how rude we were about Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer. Maybe it's time we bring the Silver Surfer back and the rest of the Fantastic Four. I don't know.
Maybe let's just try Fantastic Four one more time and see what happens. Just one more time, then we'll stop. Just one more again. One more.
If Kevin Feige had his little paw on the Silver Surfer, it might work. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe.
And okay, what we think of as superhero movies is so wild, because like, I mean, like, obviously the answer is just like things based on comic books, but like, in what narrative way is Guardians of the Galaxy a superhero movie? Like, what traits does Guardians of the Galaxy share with a superhero as an idea? It's like nothing.
As a Infinity Stone,
I guess, but it's like, I don't know. Costumes, vigilantes, superpowers, like none of that. 0 for 3.
That's like a huge movie that tricked people into thinking that they like superhero movies, because it's just a fun sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
It's a team. Yeah. It's a team sci-fi.
And it's based off a comic. That's what it was. Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you want to do our pluggy plugs?
I'll plug, but I just want to say that like people need to chill out, you know? Like superhero movies, they're different. And they're good.
as a
and like
society,
things.
we need to
How
stop
come
trying to
people
define
didn't go to
everything.
see this movie? They're not going to see it. You should go see it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Go to the
Well,
movies.
they've been burned before. I don't blame them. But do
No,
this
I'm
one.
telling
It's
you right
good.
now. You should see it. And I'm also telling you to follow us on Twitch. We're trying to get affiliate. We need 50 followers. You should follow us on Twitch. You can also follow us on Twitter at NoNerdsPod. You can follow Adeline at HollabackHorse. You can follow Jackson at Jepperpack. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Nerds Allowed. Post an upload of this if you missed out or you just want to hear us riff again
One more time.
on my King Shark, because I know that we all agree that King Shark is the best character in this movie.
You dropped this king.
Yeah, did I miss
He's
any?
the little
Follow
jellyfish.
Jackson on TikTok.
Probably don't.
Join
I
our
don't think I'm
Discord.
doing that anymore.
Okay, Jackson's done. Don't follow him on TikTok.
I don't know. I'm
Delete
thinking
him
about
off
it.
of TikTok.
I'm reevaluating some things.
Also, if you're new, you should join our Discord. The link is in our bio or the description or something. And we just have a fun little community there. We talk about cool stuff. We talk about trailers that drop. We talk about fruit, and we talk about lots of other stuff that the mainstream might call nerdy, but we call a good time.
Yes.
And that is all I have. Those are all of my plugs.
So
My
would
podcast
you guys like to hear a 1-star review of the
Indulge.
Suicide Squad?
No,
one
but
star
do.
review.
1 star. This review comes from letterboxd.com, and this person says, "This was so annoying, it could be a TikTok."
Oh, zing!
Scotty! Oh, Gotti!
Got him!
Could have been a
R.I.P.
TikTok.
that.
Now, Jackson,
Polka dot man.
delete your TikTok. This was a sign from the universe.
I should get rid of my TikTok.
Get out of there. It's all coming down
Take
around
that,
you.
millennials. Gen Z.
Get it. That's it.
Anyway, my name is Jackson McMurray.
My name is Adeline McMurray.
My name is Kezia Rhodes.
And this has been the Nerds Allowed. I was gonna say.
You almost stuck that landing.
I was gonna say
You
the No
almost
Nerds
stuck
Allowed,
it.
but I
You
said the
almost
No
Suni
Nerds
lead,
Allowed.
but you didn't.
You
Anyway.
sure
guys-
did.
We missed out on all of the Olympics, so we couldn't make a lot of Olympics jokes.
Yeah.
I had a lot of good ones.
I
don't have any funny. Other millennial in my America sports, we all just did them. We didn't not do the sports. We did them. Back in my day, the sports, we did not just choose not to. We
I don't
did.
get this joke, Adeline.
Simone
I'm
Biles
not.
left the Olympics,
Oh.
and then a
Okay,
bunch of
that's
old
what you're
people are
talking
giving
about.
her shit, even though
It's
they haven't
true.
done a sport
It's
before.
true.
What? Read the news.
I knew
Okay,
that
well,
that
I
happened. That joke just
I thought that
didn't
you were
work,
talking about
Adeline.
all of America.
Okay, I'm hanging
Joining
up
the
now because I'm gonna
Olympics.
go eat food in the
Okay.
family. So.
Enjoy yourself.
And
Bye,
then-
Adeline. See ya. And we'll probably go too. Thank you guys for coming in, everybody who's here. The face cam's
Face
bad,
cam.
but there's nothing to be done about that. Yeah, it's been a sec. If you want a good Simone Biles joke, we had a pretty good Simone Biles joke on First Play podcast that I recorded with Ben and Max last week. So
One always wants a good
just
Simone Biles.
go there, yeah. So First Play podcast.
If you were really cool, you'd make a Suni Lee joke. But
True. Don't have any of those. I only respect Suni Lee, actually, so
whoa.
can't do that.
Or just talk about the Mexican men's synchronized diving team, because they really blew it. And they were not nice to them.
Right.
That's all I have to, that's all.
Do you have anything else you want to say to the people before we call it a day? How are you feeling?
Yeah, stay informed out there, sailors. Just keep up with current events. Make sure you know what's going on. Wear your mask. If you feel so inclined to donate to any organizations,
Right.
a really good one is World Relief. That would be good right now. Lots of bad things are happening. But the Suicide Squad's good.
Suicide Squad's so good. Fixing the world.
It's so good. It's so good. Fixing the world. Take that, earthquake and fire and other stuff. I don't know what else is happening. Nothing in particular that I can think of.
We don't know what movie we're doing next week.
Wait, I thought we did.
we had a schedule, but it's all shit now.
I thought we were gonna watch The Matrix.
The Matrix.
The Matrix.
Maybe? Here's the thing. Matrix was kind of my thing. I'm comfortable pushing that back because I want to do Reminiscence on the podcast.
Okay.
Because I want to support that movie in every facet available to me.
That's fair. That's fair.
And...
yeah, it's still question... well, actually, the vibe part is a question mark, but...
right. So, yeah. So, tentatively, we're going to do Reminiscence next week, tentatively. Just keep an eye on the Discord or on the Twitter, and we'll figure it out. I was kind of
hoping we'd do the Paw Patrol movie, but...
is that out right now?
It's out tomorrow.
Okay.
I saw the trailer for it when I saw Space Jam.
I'm okay with doing the Paw Patrol movie. I think that could be fun, if you want to.
I was joking, but...
okay.
I will. I'll do it. I'll do it.
We'll talk.
I have Paramount Plus, so I don't even have to go to the movies.
Okay. So that's all. Thank you guys for showing up. Next week we'll
Tell us if you want us to watch the Paw Patrol movie again.
Yeah, do you guys want that? I don't know.
Kim Kardashian West is in
Are we gonna do it? And then everyone's like, I wish you hadn't have done that. And we'll be like, well, I feel like an ass making everybody watch the Paw Patrol movie.
And everyone's gonna love it. Everyone's gonna be like, that's hilarious. Such a good bit.
Okay, that's all. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.